All right, guys, we are back in the studio. It's actually been about 2 days since we were out at the property because we had to get organized.
That's right.
But we're here. I got Dave with me, and I want to break down on this whiteboard behind us the recap of the 2210 West Tonto flip. And, you know, this rehab project, it was a ton of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
But we had fun. And guess what? Hooray for me. It's under contract right now. We actually have it under sold. It took 14 days because of the amazing rehab that you guys managed for me.
Thank you.
And it sold for $167,500. So I'm going to make about $55,000 on this, which makes me very, very happy. And so we had some expectations, right, when we first started this project.
That's right. When you first came to me, you said you wanted to do the whole rehab for $30,000 and take 3 weeks on it.
All right, so that was our estimate. Reality is never always right on your estimate. Have you ever had a rehab project go exactly as planned?
No, and I rarely have them go less than planned. You know, we always like to add in about 10% to whatever we think it's going to cost. If it's $30,000, we'll add in 10%, take it to 33, because when you're rehabbing a house, you never know what you're going to find. There's always going to be surprises. There's going to be unforeseen things.
Let's call it a fudge factor, right? So expect about a 10% swing from your estimates, and really how we're going to get to an estimated number is having experience, right? So we're going to talk about hiring the right people. So the reality was $32,000 in our rehab costs in 3 weeks. So you got it done on time, which makes me really happy, and only about $2,000 over budget, which is fine because obviously
you're making a lot of money.
I'm making a lot of money. It obviously has sold, and selling is half the battle, and only taking 14 days is a big testament of how good the rehab actually turned out for us. So, all right. I want to go through 5 things I want you to write down to kind of close this video out. I want to go through 5 I don't know if I want to call them tips or tricks, but a strategy or a system for real estate investors. Like for me, I'm not the most savvy rehab person. I've done hundreds of rehabs. But as an investor, that's not my specialty. I don't know anything about construction. The last thing you want me to do is swing a hammer. But I need to know how to manage a rehab project, and that's really, really important. It's like a mindset shift, because when I first got started in real estate, I thought I had to know everything about construction in order to rehab properties. Not the case, right? And so this organization or this system is what I want to talk about at the end of this video. So I want you to write this stuff down, and we'll kind of expand on that if that's cool with you.
Sure.
The first thing, or the first step into organizing and systematizing your rehabs is hiring the right power team members. All right? Hiring the right power team members. And we really have, I guess what you would call 3 levels of power team members involved in most rehab projects, right?
Right.
We have our general contractor or project manager, right? We'll talk about the difference between those here in a second. We have our subs, which are specialists in certain things. Maybe they're a specialist in plumbing, or electrical, or maybe in cabinetry or countertops. And then we have our general labor. The general labor is somebody who might do what? Paint?
You know, real easy stuff. Cleanup, demolition, anything that doesn't require too much trade knowledge. Just somebody for $10 or $12 an hour that can come in and just do grunt work, really. Clean up, shoveling rocks, digging holes, cheap, unskilled labor.
All right, yep. And so let's kind of dive into this hiring of power team members, because this is, in my opinion, the reason I was successful on this flip. It was probably the only reason. I could have found the most deeply discounted property. Went in, okay, and when you're rehabbing, you're using money. It might not be your money, but it could be other people's money, but it's money, right? This is not monopoly. This is real life. And if I hired the wrong power team members, my budget could have went from estimated 30 to 40 to 50. Who knows how bad it could have gotten. So this is really, really important. So let's talk about the difference between a general contractor and a project manager.
Well, a general contractor is going to come in, they're going to estimate the entire job, they're going to give you a lump sum figure. And what they're going to do on that lump sum figure is they're going to figure out all the subcontractors, they're going to put markups on everything, they're going to put profit in it for them. You are going to have a very large number. This project may have been at $50,000 because the general contractor wants to put his profit in there. They want to
His fudge factors.
His fudge
Yep.
factor. He wants to make sure that if something happens, he's covered. If there's any unforeseens, he's covered. If you roll in with a project manager, what the project manager is going to do is he's going to do everything essentially for cost. He's not going to be putting markups on his material. He's not going to be marking up the trades, the subcontractors. He's essentially going to manage your job. He's going to pass over all of the actual invoices to you. And you're going to pay those direct. He is not going to get paid until the end of the job.
Okay, so just to kind of break that down, a general contractor by trade, by his profession, specializes in remodeling properties, sometimes with investors, sometimes with end users. And if you find an investor-friendly general contractor that gets it, right, that understands how to work with an investor, you could probably structure a really great deal with them to where it's performance-based driven, I guess you would say it. That way they're incentivized and they hit certain bonuses and certain incentives and get paid at certain times, maybe more, if they hit certain goals, saving you money or getting done faster than typical, whatnot.
Right.
The same with a project manager, but this project managers don't necessarily have to be licensed, bonded, and insured.
A project manager is going to be somebody who is essentially coordinating your trades. They're going to coordinate the installation of your cabinets, your granite, your flooring. He's going to work on your behalf with those guys.
So he's basically you, the investor, taking over your role of all the work that you really probably don't want to do.
Right.
But they still have to be an expert.
Right.
They have to be a specialist, which you're a project manager, right?
Right.
And I have an incentive program with you that you get paid a certain amount on this project based on whether the project gets done on time and under budget.
Right.
And if you do hit certain things, you get certain bonuses
Right.
along the way. And so that's how I structured the relationship with you. But I actually found you
Right.
through an investor referral. So if you're trying to ask yourself, well, where do I find Dave? You find Dave through investor referrals. That's the best place you're going to find your Power Team members.
Yeah.
And I found you because I was selling property to an investor that you do a lot of rehabs with. And I said, hey, I got this rehab project. I want to bring Dave on board. And since then, we've been working together. So the deal you have with him is just a tiny bit different than the deal you had with me, where my deal was like a flat fee. If you get done on budget and on time, you get this amount, and if you go over, you get this amount.
Right.
Okay, and depending on how far you go over, you might not.
I
get
might
it.
owe you money.
Yeah, right. So, but your deal with him is more like
Well,
performance-based.
There are several ways to set it up. You can pay a project manager a percentage of your profits. You can pay a project manager a fixed fee. There's all sorts of different
So give me
ways.
an example of getting paid as a part of the percentage of the deal.
Well,
Give me a percentage amount.
10%.
Okay, so 10% of the profits.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever.
Of the
is-
profits, though, right?
Of the net
Okay.
profits, yes.
So if you're trying to think of a way to go out and find a Dave in your local area through an investor referral, come at them and say, hey, look, I'm doing rehabs. This is how I'm structuring my deals, the way that we're teaching you right now. And by the way, I'll pay you 10% of whatever the profits are. If you're doing a big rehab project and the profit is 60 grand,
Yeah.
that's a 70 grand, 80 grand, 150 grand. Now they're very incentivized
Right.
to work on your best behalf.
The other thing, too, from my position, if I'm meeting you for the first time, I might feel more comfortable taking a fixed fee. Because if I don't know you and you come to me and say, hey, I'll pay you a percentage of the profits, I might say, you know what, I've never dealt with you. I would rather do it for a fixed fee.
And then worry about
Right.
modifying it down the road.
Right.
That's really good advice. All right, subs. You want your subs, especially if you're working with a project manager versus a general contractor, you want your subs to be licensed, bonded, and insured.
Right.
Really important. And we're talking about the important things, right? Electrical, plumbing.
Well, plumbing, electrical, especially your roof. Anything, I look at it as anything where somebody could get hurt. The roof, the electrical, the plumbing, you want to get a licensed guy that's insured. Your tile guy, if it's shoveling rocks or doing that sort of thing, that doesn't matter. But anything where you could get hurt or there's the potential for your home to be damaged, burned down, flooded.
Okay.
That's where you want your licensed, bonded, and insured subcontractor.
Okay, and then general labor can be anybody, like you said, $10 to $12 an hour
Right.
or less,
Right.
depending on what you can get them for. Local kids in the neighborhood, whatever you got to help you out with the general stuff.
Yes.
All right. I guess it would be the next number two. The next thing we want to talk about is organization. And it's really, really important that you stay organized in a rehab project, because if you're just managing one project, you could probably just kind of wing it and you'll be all right.
Right.
Second, you add 2 rehab projects going on at the same time, you become a hot mess if you don't do this right. And so we have some, I don't want to call it a tip, but we have some suggestions on how to stay organized. So
yeah, what we do is we use Dropbox, and that's an online file storage. It's free unless you upgrade to more storage, but it's called Dropbox. You can set up files on there. You can access those files from any computer. You just need an internet connection. So it's really helpful for organizing anything from receipts, photos, closing documents, purchase documents. Anything, any paperwork associated with that job is going to go right into Dropbox. Me, as the project manager, uploads receipts, information, reports,
Pictures, whatever.
pictures. You have access to that. I share that folder with you. Anytime you want to log in, where are we on the job? What receipts do I owe? It's all right there. Any computer, anywhere that you're at, you can be sitting on the beach in California like you often do. Pull it up on your laptop. You can see, hey, these are the progress pictures.
It's
this
great.
Is where we are. We've got these invoices due. It works out really well.
And what I really like about it is it's free, one,
Yeah.
and I really like it because at the end of the rehab project, I can go back and look at the entire thing,
Right.
and you kind of see the evolution of how the entire rehab project went down, and everything's in one easy to manage place.
Right, and the other thing too, I've got all of the receipts are there. We scan those in, but we also have an actual physical folder that all of the receipts go into. And I, as the project manager, save that until the project is done. I take the folder, I say, here are the hard copies for you. It's everything
And
in
it
the
matches
file.
up with what's on Dropbox.
It's exactly
Now,
what's-
you brought the file
I did.
folder with you.
I've got one right here. This is for your project. As you can see, it's kind of thick. There was a lot of work done to it. But here are all of the actual receipts. These are actual Home Depot receipts. These are the legitimate ones. These are not copies. I scotch taped them to this piece of paper.
This is a really good tip, because what I like about this concept is, say he went to Home Depot and he bought thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And let's say you're working for me, because I got you on an investor referral,
Right.
but you're also working for that other investor on a project for him, and you're working for maybe another investor for a project for him. You could, in theory, go to Home Depot one time
Yeah.
for his project or her project, and then show up to me and say, hey, I need you to pay this, this amount
Right.
for stuff. If I'm not like totally detailed and organized on everything, I might just pay that receipt off and not even know. But if you bring me the physical receipt,
Yes. Then you know it's real. I'm not taking this to 5 other investors saying, hey, you owe me $1,000 to Home Depot. The thing that also would incentivize a guy like me as a project manager is if I'm needlessly billing you or needlessly getting reimbursements from you, I'm going to eventually go over budget. So that goes back to keeping the budget in check. I don't want to just keep slamming you with all these receipts. I don't want to artificially inflate the cost of your job. That's why it would be good if you're paid based on the profits of the job. You or me as a project manager,
incentivized to keep it clean.
I want to keep the costs low.
right?
But-
And underneath this video, we're going to have some screenshot video of the actual Dropbox account for
Right.
this particular project. So if you want to see how that's set up and organized, just go underneath this video. There's probably a little supplemental video, and you'll be able to see exactly how that's set up and how we organize everything. And you can
Right.
see all of our receipts. Everything's going to be in there. So,
Right.
yeah, that'll really, really be helpful for them. All right. So, next, number 3, managing crews and scheduling. Managing crews. First, you got to have the crew, right?
Right.
You got to be able to hire the crew. But then there's an important task of scheduling them all out and managing them, making sure that they do their jobs, that you inspect their work and whatnot. So let's talk about scheduling them out. I know in a rehab we could probably talk for an hour on how that could potentially work, but
There are a whole lot of details involved with that. And back on the video, at some point when you and I first met, I was telling you about when we first hit a job, these are the first things that we do. We call out a termite inspection. We inspect the roof. We inspect the pool. We inspect
AC,
the air conditioning. I mean, these are the things that are going to potentially cost a lot of money.
water heater.
The water heater, the plumbing, you want to know, aside from cosmetic stuff, that's obvious. You want to know structural stuff. Is the roof going to cave in? Am I going to have to pay $15,000 for a new roof, or am I going to have to pay $1,500 for a roof repair? Do I have termites? Do I have wood rot? I want to find all of this out before I go shopping for cabinets, granite, because once
Could affect the budget,
Exactly.
swing the budget big time.
Once you determine those costs that you've got to fix, then you can back into your cosmetic stuff. Then you can start to back into your overall budget, because you don't want to find out after the fact that you've got to drop 15 grand on a roof. Now your $30,000 becomes $45,000, and you're not making any money, and you're angry at me. I want to make sure I'm completely
We know that
covered.
up front.
We want to know all that
right.
stuff up front.
So you get them out there right in the beginning. So that's kind of like step one, but then we
Yes.
got to go to demo.
Right.
And then from demo, we got to go to
As soon as we figure out what our actual our structural costs, things we've got to do, then we can start tearing the house apart. Let's say everything checks out, we're good. We know what we're gonna do inside. We call the demo crew out.
I highly suggest, if you're watching this and you've never done a rehab before, you go out there and you demo with them, because that's a lot of fun. The first couple times you get to swing an old a sledgehammer, or work the jackhammer, or do whatever. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
So I've got manual
to do
labor
that.
guys, that's their favorite part. They're looking for demo work because they can go take out their frustrations, tear the cabinets down, tear the tile up. What we'll also do typically is we'll bring in a large roll-off dumpster. That will run you anywhere from $250 to $300. Waste management is obviously a big name. There are a lot of smaller companies that will bring out a big roll-off dumpster. You put it in the driveway, you demo the
Fill it
house,
up.
fill it up,
And-
call them, they take it away. You don't
Perfect.
want to have to worry about, now I've got this big pile of trash, what do I do with it? Get a dumpster out there right away. Start your demolition. Once you've got everything demolished, now you have a shell. Now you can walk into the house, everything's gone, all the old junk is gone, you're starting with a fresh, clean slate. Now you can start calling out your subcontractors, whether it's flooring, carpets, granite, cabinets, the painter.
And when they come out there, you meet them out there,
Yes.
and they measure.
Yes.
And then they'll start building bids, right?
Yes.
And estimates for
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
And that's all goes into Dropbox, so we can kind of see the evolution, and then you
Right.
negotiate with them.
Right. And another thing that I would advise somebody doing this for the first time, they might say, I don't have a guy to do this. I don't have a painter. What's the best way to do that? What's the best way to find that person? What I did initially years ago when I started with this is you call out 2 or 3 different companies to provide you with a quote, an estimate. Same thing with a roofer. Call out maybe 3 different roof guys. Say, hey, what's it going to cost to fix this? You'll have 3 different numbers, and eventually you'll get to a point where you have a relationship, you're comfortable, they know me, I know them, they know what I expect. So, after you've done several of these, you get your power team members.
And I know there's some places out there like angieslist.com.
Yeah.
I think the other one's servicemagic.com,
Right.
where you can read reviews from other people that have used them in the past. And even though you have to pay like whatever, $40 a month or $90 a month or whatever it costs to be a member for Angie's List, you can get a lot of your subs out of there
Sure.
initially.
Sure.
And then get them out.
What'll happen, honestly, is you're going to have a lot of guys that you may never use again. You might pick a roofer and say, you know what, he didn't show up, he did bad work, I'm going to try again. So after you've gone through a number of these, you do end up with that power team. So you become accustomed to what to expect. It's a great relationship. They give you very good pricing.
So subs come out.
The subs come out, yes.
Then how do you know what order to install everything?
Well, what you're going to want to do is, after you've got everything cleaned out, you're going to want to paint the interior. So you pick out your paint color, you paint your walls, you paint your ceiling, and then you'll fall into certain things such as perhaps new doors, baseboards, that sort of thing. You'll have your tile guys come in, then you'll bring in your cabinet guy, he'll set in his cabinets. The granite goes on the cabinets. You've got all of your finished stuff. You've got your doorknobs. You've got your sink fixtures. You've got your lights, your fans, your windows. Yeah. So there's kind of a flow in order, and it's very logical. You don't need to think too hard about it. You're not going to want to put in your cabinets before you've done your floor. You're not going to want to paint until you've done your demolition, because if you paint and then you take out your tile, you're making dust, you're scratching the walls.
Right.
So if you just think logically through it, it kind of makes sense.
That's good advice. And this is your job.
That's what I do.
Right? Your job is to handle this step.
Right.
So I can go sit on the beach in California.
Right.
Payments. There's a right way and a wrong way to pay your workers, your subs, even you. I mean, there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. And back in the early days when I first got into this business, I would look at a general contractor as the authority, right? And I would say, okay, what's it going to take for you to take on this job? And he would tell me, and he would say, I need this much money for me to start. And I'd say, okay, and I'd give him the money. And then he would turn around a week later and go, I need more money. And you're like, well, I just gave you a couple $1,000s. Well, what happened to it? Well, we got some materials and some work going on, but nothing to the scale of the value of the money that I just gave him. Right. Well, what happened behind the scenes is this guy was broke and he went out and paid his rent with the money I just gave him, right? Or he went to the casino or some crazy thing happens. And so the right way to pay people that we recommend is if you're getting your materials from Home Depot or Lowe's, go to their Pro Desk and set up an account. And that account, they'll keep your credit card on file, right? Right. And so if my credit card was on file and he went to go get materials, they would actually call me and say, hey, I'm authorizing this charge. Are you good with that? Right. Or Dave's down here trying to authorize a charge. Are you good with it? And I would say, okay, let it go through. And then Dave would show up in the Dropbox account. I'd get the receipt, and then he'd show up with the physical receipt. Mm-hmm. And it would work like that. So highly suggest that you set up that account. That way you can buy materials and stuff for them. If anything else is not coming through Home Depot or Lowe's or a place where you have an account on file, it's your recommendation to do what?
I typically don't give any more than half down. If you've got your flooring guy, he's typically going to want half down just because he's got to go buy all the material. He's got to buy the tile, he's got to buy the carpet, he's got to come out of pocket on that stuff. So if you give him half down, that lets him buy his material. Once the job is complete, you pay him the balance.
So you inspect it, everything looks good, right, and you can pay him the balance. Or you buy the materials, and then they go and do all the work, and then you inspect it and pay for labor at the end.
Sure.
All right. So it's okay, and it's okay if you got to pay for materials. I don't want you thinking like you have to. I know a lot of times like we'll recommend a third, and a third payment plan or something like that. The whole concept behind it is to use your best judgment and don't overpay up ahead of time before the work is done and you've inspected it.
Right.
Right. That's the biggest takeaway from this payment step. And step 5 is final inspections. And one of the things that Dave and I did is I met him out there at the end of the project. And we walked around it, everything together. And some things he noticed and some things I noticed. And I have a good attention for detail, and so do you. So between the two of us, that final inspection, pretty much, we even carried around some blue tape where you can put little blue tape next to things and remember exactly everything you're seeing, just some blue painter's tape. And then he'll go back through and get the subs back out or do whatever cleanup with the general labor that needs to happen so we can get it ready for sale. And then final checks were cut. Everybody gets paid, and I'm happy because now I have a house that's ready to go on the market.
Right.
Right? And one of the things that we like to do is we have a general rule of thumb when selling, and this is kind of a side note. You'll do a final cleaning, bring in a professional cleaning crew, okay? And then if it doesn't sell within, say, the first 7, I would say within the first 2 to 3 weeks. If it doesn't sell, then you get a professional stager in there.
Right. And that's what we'll do. We'll have somebody come in, and there's different levels of staging. And
depending on the house,
the
value of the house. Yeah. So like if you're doing a cheapie, might not stage
It's
right away.
called an accessory package, and you know, sometimes when I say staging, people don't know what staging is. So I like to call it decorating. So I'll tell you, you know, Cody, let's decorate the house. It's not selling. We'll bring somebody in, and they'll do kind of an accessory package. They'll walk around. They'll put flowers here and there, a dining table, some chairs. You know, they'll put a few items in the bathrooms, a soap dish, some flowers.
So it's not like bringing in a full house full of furniture. It's more of just, so you walk into a room and you can kind of start to visualize life in that room.
It does. It softens it up. It brings some life. It gives it some color. And it lets people visualize the reality of living there.
Yeah, and it's pretty affordable in the big picture of things. And like I said, my goal for you is to actually cherry pick out the best deals. Okay, so you should have a large potential profit margin built into these deals, just like on this one. My general rule of thumb is if I can't make at least 40 grand after all expenses and everything, I'm not going to do that rehab project. I will rather wholesale it out. That's my personal risk tolerance profit level that I run my business by. So hopefully you're cherry picking out the best deals, and you got plenty of room in there to pay for some staging if the property's not selling. So great job on everything that you've done.
Thank you.
And thanks for being a part of this video.
Sure.
Dave obviously is a rehab specialist, and it was very nice of you to do all that stuff. So why don't we end it with Dave's top 5 tips.
All right.
Tip number 1.
This is not a top 10 list. We'll call it the top 5 tips for you right here. A lot of times people wonder when they're doing these rehabs, do I need to pull permits? You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to have an inspector come by and say, hey, where are your permits? So as a rule of thumb, if you're moving plumbing, if you're moving electrical, if you're going to tear down a wall, if you're going to add a room, if you're going to do major structural changes, pull a permit. If you're doing primarily cosmetic stuff, you're painting, you're doing cabinets and granite.
Nothing's changing. Like in Tonto, we didn't move anything. We didn't change anything. We basically took the old ugly stuff down and put new, fresh stuff up.
Right. The plumbing stayed in the same spot. The electrical stayed in the same spot. We didn't have to move any of that stuff.
Okay.
However, I always tell people, if you're not sure of whether or not you need a permit, go to the permit office. Call the city or the town. Hey, I'm going to do this. Do I need a permit? They'll walk you through that.
Yep.
But it's always better to be safe.
And even though you're not a general contractor, you have access to subs and general contractors, and you have the ability to still pull permits if you need to. In fact, the investor that referred you to me, I sold a big house out in Paradise Valley to him, and you're managing that project, and you guys are actually adding a garage or something onto it to increase the value, and you're still managing that project, and you still were able to pull the permits.
Yeah, what I do on that size of an addition, which it was essentially taking a 2-car garage, making it a 3-car garage, I had plans drawn up. I went to the town of Paradise Valley, found out permit requirements, setbacks, restrictions, got a guy out there to draw plans. We submit the plans, they approve it, and you roll that way. So eventually when we do add on the garage, the guy that does that work is going to be a licensed general contractor.
Okay.
The rest of the house, the cosmetic stuff, I don't need to get him involved in that portion of it. I just want him to handle the garage portion.
Okay.
He pulls the permits, everyone's happy, it's to code, so we're good there.
Awesome. Good tip. All right, tip number 2. What if the house is built prior to 1978?
Okay. Older houses built before 1980, 79, 78, anything older than that, you typically run into an issue with lead in the paint. You don't want to end up with lead in the paint. You want to check for that. You want to make sure you're not doing anything illegal or endangering anybody.
Hazardous, yeah.
Right? You want to make sure not to mess with that. If you do end up...
So you're saying drinking lead-based paint is bad?
Look what it did to me. It's a bad thing to do. So what you want to do is you want to purchase a test kit. And you can get that right off the internet. You can go to Amazon carries them. They're called the 3M lead check swabs. $125. Get them offline. Order them. test the paint. It's an instant response. You don't have to mail it off.
So it tells you right away whether there's lead in the paint.
It's like a pregnancy test. It'll change colors. It will tell you bad news, good news. So, you want to definitely check that. And if you are showing up positive...
I was gonna say a bad joke. I decided to hold back on that.
That's another video.
Yeah.
So, if you do end up with lead, then you're really going to want to call a lead remediation crew or somebody. That's a little bit of a specialty. That as an
you probably Google the local area to clean up lead paint or something. They'll come out and they'll take that out for you, and it'll cost a lot more, but it'll be worth it for you not to do it yourself.
And again, going back to what I said earlier, check when you first get started. Check that stuff. You don't want to be almost done and then find out, oh, I've got lead in my paint. Now you've got a problem. Check it early, knock it out, take it off the list.
That's a great tip. Tip number 3.
Number 3, if you've got popcorn ceilings, which you did, as nice as they look, we're going to want to get rid of them. And a lot of times, again, prior to 1978, 79 and earlier, they used asbestos in there as a fire retardant, so the house, it stopped the house from burning down. So if you have that, you want to use a different system for removing that. Again, you're going to want to call in the professionals. Okay. That's a situation.
So you can actually get a test kit for that as well.
Yes. You're going to want to get a test kit. You're going to mail it off. It'll take a couple of days, but it's one of the things you want to do early on, because if you've got asbestos in your popcorn ceilings, you want to know early. Just like the lead, get that stuff checked.
What is tip number 4?
Tip number 4 is if you walk into a house and you've got that really bad pet urine smell or any other smells. Oftentimes older houses, it smells like cooking or pet urine or just any musty old smell that a buyer is going to walk into a house. They don't want to smell that. They want to smell clean, fresh, brand new. They want that new home smell. Just like your new car smell, they want the new home smell. Well, how do you get that? You've got to get rid of whatever's making that odor. And it's usually pet urine. It could be maybe some water damage under the sinks. You might have a little bit of a leak and the wood starts to suck that up, and then you get kind of that wet mildew smell. What we like to do, figure out the source. If you think it's urine and it's a pet odor, get yourself a black light. In the evening, come back, pitch black, take the black light flashlight, shine it on the floor, look for anything that glows. Pet urine is going to shine, it's going to light up, it's going to show under the black light. You want to treat that. Just because you see it on the carpet and taking the carpet out doesn't necessarily get rid of it. It gets into the concrete, it gets into the baseboards, it gets into the bottom of the drywall. Anywhere where a pet has done their thing, you want to cut that out. If it's in the concrete, go to a pet supply store, get a pet urine dissolver. It's an enzyme that they sell.
Miracle, what is it called? Miracle.
I don't remember the exact name of it. I don't have it on my list here. It's Miracle something, but try Petco, PetSmart.
Just pour it on there, or spray it on there.
Spray it on, let it sit, follow the directions. Also, if you are interested and you want to go something all natural, if you just Google how to remove pet urine smells, there's a ton of different recipes.
Okay.
Some peroxide, different vinegar. There's all kinds of these potions that you can mix up with some soap, put it on there, or if you want to just take the easy way, spend $15, get a gallon of the
urine remover.
Yeah.
All right, and then what if the smell is still in the air?
Well, a lot of times you'll get that musty smell. I use something called an ozone generator. That is something that you can either rent. I happen to own one. They are a little bit expensive if you go to your rental place. They're maybe $30, $40 a day. For $150, you can buy an ozone generator. The one that I use is called the Ozone Power 3000, which sounds like something off.
Sounds like a Daffy Duck gun or something.
Yeah, the ozone generator, the Ozone Power 3000. Arnold Schwarzenegger did not use that in his movies, but you can pick one up for about $150.
And what do? You just plug it in and let it sit in the room?
You're going to plug it in. It's going to be a little fan. It's going to blow this odor. Ozone has a bit of a smell. You don't want to live there. It's not something that you want to be inhaling because it will damage your lungs. When you're doing a rehab project, you're typically not living there.
All right, so just plug it in,
plug it,
get lost for a little while, come back.
Let it run overnight. Let it run while all the workers are out. It's going to circulate through the house. The ozone will actually break down whatever's causing that odor. If you have a particular room where it's very bad, say it's a bathroom or a kitchen, plug it in there. Let it run. In the morning when you get back, unplug it. Every night, plug it in. Eventually, over a few days, it's going to kill whatever's making that smell. It's going to give it that fresh, new, clean smell.
All right, that is a fantastic tip. Tip number 5, safety and security. I've had rehab projects. You get in and you start, spending money on the rehab, and then somebody thinks that they have the right to your tools or to your materials, and they come and they break in and they take your stuff. Let's do some security tips.
Well, we typically have 3 different levels of security. Level 1 would be just very basic common sense. Go to your neighbor, ring the doorbell, say, hey, I'm working on this house, nobody lives there, would you mind parking your car in the driveway? I have actually done that.
Yeah, just pay him, if you have to, pay him like $25 or something.
Yeah, and I don't think you would even need to do that, because if somebody is going to help you deter crime, they're going to want to do that. Maybe they've got an extra vehicle, just park it over there the whole time. In addition to that, simple things like leaving a radio inside, something that's going to make sound, some music, leaving lights on. I always like to leave on a front light and maybe 1 or 2 interior lights, just so if somebody drives by, it doesn't look like it's vacant. There's a car, there's music, there's lights on inside.
I like that. So that would be your kind of guerrilla cheap way to secure the property.
Yeah, we call that kind of a level 1 protection.
Okay, level 2.
Level 2 protection is you can actually purchase fake video cameras. So you've got the car, you've got the lights, now you're putting up your fake camera. It's got a little red light on it so it looks real. Mount it maybe by the front door so if somebody comes up there they think they're on camera. And that's a really good deterrent. That's not a lot of extra money. You can pick those up on the internet very cheap.
Okay. All right, and then on top of maybe throwing that in, maybe some lights on timers?
Yeah, you can do that. You can put some timers, put a couple of lights around the house, get the timers set up so they come on at night and
come on and off, whatever.
Yeah, so it really just gives it the appearance of somebody living there. Another thing that we would do...
Closing all the blinds probably would be a good...
I was going to say, if your blinds are down, put the blinds up, just so you can close them. Because you don't want people to come in and be looking in the window to see what you've got. You want the blinds to be shut. When the workers show up in the day, open the blinds, open the windows, that's fine. But in the evening, shut the blinds, cars parked, all this stuff for the level 2 security.
All right, level 3.
Level 3, this is where you would actually rent a security system.
It's like a portable security system.
It's a portable security system. What you can do is you can mount motion sensors around inside. It links to the mobile security system.
So somebody physically monitors that for a fee?
There is a fee associated with it. It's $55 a month. There is the company that I use charges a $250 or $300 setup fee. They will come out. They will put it on the. It's not permanent. It's portable. They'll put it someplace right next to the front door. They will also put 3 or 4 motion sensors strategically placed around the house.
So if you're doing a higher end remodel,
yes.
That's not just like throwing lipstick on the pig, right? Like you're actually spending a lot of money on materials. You have your tools and stuff there.
Yeah.
You're going to want to potentially get a portable security system.
Yes.
Somebody monitors that. They'll let you know, hey, it's not just a cat going across the motion sensor. It's actually somebody breaking into the property.
Right. And what we like to do on those portable ones is we like to isolate a specific room. Typically the kitchen. If you've got appliances in there, your valuable stuff. If you're doing a rehab on a house and somebody breaks in, they're not going to steal your carpet. They're not going to steal your paint. They're looking for what can they take. Appliances, if you do have tools. So if you've got a higher-end remodel, higher-end appliances.
Put everything in one room and then put your security system around that room. That's really good.
Throw it all in the kitchen. Throw your tools, all your appliances, anything important, put it in there. You've got the multiple motion sensors. You arm it when you leave. You disarm it when you get there. Now you're pretty well covered.
All right. So if you know, we have a company here in Arizona that we use, but they only provide services here in Arizona.
Right.
If they're watching this video and they're not here, where can they look to potentially find a service provider that would do that?
You know, again, I would check the internet. You know, do a Google search for portable security systems. There's a website called SNA Online, and that is a group.
SNAonline.com.
Correct.
And that's an organization.
That's an organization that a lot of the security
Companies.
alarm companies belong to. It's a good place to check to see
Yeah.
who carries that sort of thing. So wherever you are, whatever state you live in, Google it. You might be able to find a
local provider.
A local provider,
Yeah.
somebody that can monitor it.
That's awesome. 5 awesome tips from Dave. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Remember, this video was designed to kind of pull back the curtain and give you a sneak peek into the inner workings of a rehab project. So hopefully you learned a lot and you had fun watching this video. Below it, download the supplemental videos. We also have a supplemental budget where we break down all of the expenses in this particular project. And at the end of the day, general rule of thumbs, if you're trying to estimate what a rehab project would cost, would you say about $20 per square foot?
You know, it depends on the level.
$25 per square foot.
$20, $30, $10. I mean, you could walk into a house that doesn't need a whole lot. If you're putting appliances in, you might want to go 25-ish. If you're really going high end, up to 30. So if
Okay, so so if you're really thinking about remodeling a property, a general rule of thumb might start somewhere between $20 to $25 per square foot. You're not going to be horribly far off with that estimate, as long as you have a great power team that you can rely on. So that's it. That's all I got. You got anything else?
I'm good.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for watching this. Hope you had a lot of fun, and we'll see you on the next video.